Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Canada Day. Happy Canada Day, everybody. That's a great celebration of a great country. Um, Today we're reading through Second Kings, verses 1 to 4, and we see a lot of Elisha being written about as if he's one of the kings. Um, Elijah and Elisha, the prophets. Up to this point, the prophets were usually just the voice of Yahweh. Um, really explaining to people what Yahweh is looking for today, reminding them who they belong to, reminding them um, of their obligation and of all that the Lord had done for them. But Elijah and Elisha were different in that they came with the power of God, and some of the miracles you may recognize, some of the miracles that Elisha did, because he did on a smaller scale what Jesus would later do on a much larger scale. But one of the things that really stands out for me um, is when the three kings come together and they go to fight the fourth kingdom, and they go by way of the desert, and they've run out of water. And in one of the accounts, they're told to dig ditches because the next day that the desert would be filled with water, it would be gone in a blink of an eye. And what stands out, though, is in this battle, um, the king that the three kings are coming against is about to be defeated. He's going down. Um, and they're destroying all the fields and all the infrastructure and everything that's in place. And then this king, in desperation, it takes his heir, takes his son, goes up onto the city walls and kills him, sacrifices him, a human sacrifice, something that is absolutely deplorable to Yahweh. And I would think this would enrage the armies, and so that they would just attack and just get rid of this offensive thing off the face of the planet. But as a kid, I thought it worked. And I couldn't understand that. I was thinking, how did this work when Yahweh is who He is? He is the creator. There are no other gods. They're all fake. So how could this human sacrifice be enough to repel these three kings? And we know it wasn't that. It was that they were so repulsed that they couldn't stay there. So repulsed they had to get out of that place as quickly as possible. It was just a repulsive act. So in a way, it worked, only in that the righteous were withdrawing themselves from such incredible evil. We have that tendency today to want to do that same thing. When we encounter evil, we want to retreat. When we encounter really just stuff that doesn't, it just repulses God. It comes contrary to the kingdom. We want to run away. We don't want to stay there. But we're supposed to do the opposite. We're actually supposed to stand our ground. We're not supposed to run away. And I know that can be difficult because the easiest thing is to run away. The hardest thing is to stand our ground. But it's not just standing our ground, it's the way that we have to stand our ground. We have to stand our ground by loving our enemies. We have to stand our ground by praying for those who persecute us. We have to stand our ground by loving and valuing our neighbor. It's a very much it's much different reaction than what we find in the Old Testament. And you would think that righteousness could have nothing to do with unrighteousness, and holy couldn't have anything to do with the common. But that's an Old Testament approach before the age of grace that was brought in. And now we are to stay in their midst. We are to stay in the midst of the evil. We are to stay in this and present Jesus, represent Jesus, demonstrate the kingdom, so that the people would forsake evil and run to His righteousness. That's what it's supposed to be. So I encourage you in that. You guys have a great celebration today. And yeah, that's Representative Kingwell. God bless.